Do you want to know about raising resilient kids amidst trauma culture? You're not alone. That is something that many parents are hoping for during this time where everyone is classified as having trauma. So what do we do about it? I'm Nicholeen Peck. I teach parenting all over the world through the lens of the principle self-government. And in this video, we're going to be talking about what you can do to help raise resilient children. In this video, we're going to be talking about resilience, what that means and how to create a culture of resilience in your home, and some specific skills that you can use with your children to help them learn resilience. The word resilience is very popular right now. Everyone is hoping for resilient children. They don't want their children to get stuck having worry and fear and anxiety and all of those things associated with having bad experiences in their life. If you've seen my video on this channel called Affirming Trauma-Informed Care Hurts Children, then you'll understand that there is a difference between trauma and adversity. I'm not going to go into great detail here on trauma and the trauma culture that we're living in right now because it is covered in that video. But I do want to discuss adversity. Adversity is something that everyone experiences. It's part of life. Going through adversity is actually super healthy for us. I think focusing on resilience as we have to teach that is good because it embraces adversity. It embraces that things won't always go your way, because they won't. A person, if they are raised in an environment where they never get to experience adversity, is actually damaged emotionally and psychologically. They may even think that they should be able to have control over all of their surroundings all of the time because things have been so easy and cushy for them in all these growing up years. So it is good for children to try daring things and stumble and fall and scrape their knee and fall off their bicycle and get told, "I hate you" by a friend, and all of those things that we think, oh no, that makes my child sad. They should go through all those things and decide, it's okay, I'm fine, I can move on, I'll find a new friend, or I'll go apologize, or I'll fix this, I'll solve a problem. So the act of being resilient is bouncing back, right? So when a person is resilient, that means they experience something hard and then they decide that's not going to keep me down, I'm coming back from that, I'm going to keep moving forward. Whenever I think of the word, I think of a ball bouncing. It's like I threw it down, but here it comes back. And the real idea behind resilience for people who love the concept is that when I bounce that ball down, guess what it does when it comes back? It comes back faster and higher and harder. So actually, the resilience makes for the stronger person because the adversity was experienced and the person had the opportunity to get themselves over it and through it, then soon they're back even stronger than they were before they had the problem. I don't know how many times I've been sitting in church or been talking to friends, especially those that are a lot older than me, that when they are counting their blessings and expressing gratitude for things, that they will express gratitude for some of their hardships, some of the hardest things they ever did, or the worst things that ever happened to them. They'll tell the story of how a mountain lion attacked them, or how they had to go through a difficult experience where, a family member died or something like that. And these very hard bits of adversity in their lives are the things that they say, I'm glad I went through that. I'm glad I went through World War II, says the person who was in a prison camp. I love Corrie ten Boom and her book, The Hiding Place, how she says, I'm so glad, I'm so grateful that I got to go through that, being infested with lice and not having enough food and being trapped in a cell and being in a work camp and doing all this. I'm glad that I got to go through that because I see things more clearly now. Because now I know what's most important, and now I know what I can do. The resilience brought power, the type of power that had her before her death on a speaking circuit up until she was a very, very, very old woman. Those are the people that we look up to. the ones that have been through the hard times. So of course we want our children to be able to get through hard times as well. Now there is something that is significantly better than resiliency. And if you've already subscribed to this channel, you know I've talked about this multiple times in different videos. And that is the idea of a person being able to be better than resilient, but anti-fragile, which basically means that they have that strength of the resiliency before they even have to go through the hardship, so that when the hardship comes, it doesn't tear them completely down. They're prepared for it because they know hardships will come before they get there. So if we're truly going to prepare our children to be really resilient, we should start with the idea in mind of helping them become anti-fragile. And there is a way to do that. When a person is self-governed, which is what this channel is all about, is self-government, then you help the person become deliberate in understanding themselves, understanding cause and effect, and making a plan going forward. The definition of self-government is being able to determine the cause and effect of any given situation and possessing a knowledge of your own behaviors so that you can control them. So that means that you understand cause and effect and yourself, and you plan for success, and then you adapt to whatever comes by continually pulling yourself back on course. And you do this by preparing yourself through pre-teaching with specific skills for success. Now on this channel, I talk a lot about skills. Skills for parents, skills for children, how to correct behaviors, how to encourage good behaviors, how to praise for behaviors, how to handle out of control behaviors, how to self-regulate, how to be calm, how to discuss as a group, how to get one-on-one conversations going well. That gives you a taste of what is on this channel. But right now I'd like to get back to some of our basics. So there are 4 basic skills that every person needs to know. And if they know these 4 basic skills, not only does that take care of 99% of their behavioral problems, but those skills empower them and pre-teach them. They prepare them to handle disappointments when life's little disappointments come. These children's books teach the 4 basic skills. I've written these, so if you look up, children's books by Nicholeen Peck or something, you can find them. You can also get them at my website, teachingselfgovernment.com. But they each teach one of the 4 basic skills, which are following instructions, accepting no answers and criticism, accepting consequences, and disagreeing appropriately. When a person learns all 4 of those 4 basic skills, then they have a foundation for governing themselves for the future. Now, some people might ask, how does following an instruction prepare you to govern yourself for the future? Well, if you know the 5 steps to following an instruction, then you are prepared not only to follow instructions from employers and people in authority over you, but also if you're a religious person, you could follow instructions from God. But even more importantly, if you're a motivated person or you want to be a self-motivated person and make and keep goals with yourself, then you need to be able to follow instructions from yourself. Ultimately, that's what it means to be self-governed, is that you could do that. Now, when a person experiences adversity, usually what they need is a combination of 2 skills. Usually they need accepting no answers or criticism, or maybe accepting consequences, because sometimes our adversity comes because it was an effect of our own decision. Our own choice led to a bad thing. But usually we think of adversity as something that happened to us, so that would be a no answer. Or maybe someone told you something about you that they don't like. That could also be considered a no answer. If that's the case, then you need accepting no answers or accepting criticism, or possibly the skill accepting consequences. After you utilize the steps to those skills, then you would use the skill following instructions with yourself to instruct yourself forward, to make yourself move on and not get stuck in this place where you can't drop the subject. So let's talk about accepting no answers, because that's probably going to be the one that will be utilized the most. So this book right here, Porter Earns a Quarter, teaches the skill accepting no answers. There are 4 steps to that skill. When a person accepts no answers, they can look at the person or the situation, keep a calm face, voice, and body. Yes, they know what that means. And that does get into another skill, which is self-regulation, right? But that's a video for a different day. The 3rd step is they say, okay, that happened, or they disagree appropriately. And then the final step is they drop the subject. Every one of the 4 basic skills has a skill set attached to it. So they all have steps that you can follow. And if you focus on all of the steps, then you actually can have the greatest amount of success, not just 1 or 2 of the steps. This skill has 4 steps. The one I'd like to focus on the very most first is that last step, dropping the subject. When a person doesn't drop the subject, they often are trapped in rumination. Rumination is when you keep overthinking something or you keep processing again and again. You don't want to drop the subject in your own head. So when a person has something happen that they didn't like, maybe someone called them a bad name, maybe they had an injury that made it so they can't play sports again. These are all things that could be considered adversity. If they continually ruminate on the negative aspects of whatever has happened to them in that moment of adversity, they will have a very difficult time moving forward. And they will actually possibly even create a psychological problem that makes it so that they get stuck. It could lead to increased depression or increased hopelessness, those types of things, just because of the rumination. So learning how to tell yourself, I have to drop the subject now. That's the last step. I have to let this go. Okay, I broke my leg and I won't be able to play basketball for the rest of the season. That's how it is. I need to accept that and drop the subject and decide what I am gonna do with these months since I'm not going to be playing basketball. That's what a resilient person can do. They can drop the subject. They can acknowledge what happened. They can take blame for something that might have been their fault. They can stay calm about it. They can accept it and say, okay, and then they can drop the subject. That is going to be step number 1 for teaching resilience to your child. Now, we have just barely scratched the surface on these 4 basic skills. There is so much more that I could teach related to self-government, but all of the self-government training actually hinges on calmness, which is a tone element that really needs to be understood for full self-mastery. Since you've made it to the end of this video, I have a free gift for you. I have a Calm Parenting Toolkit on my website that right now you can have for free. So in the description below this video, it says teachselfgov.com/toolkit. If you go to that website right now, you can have the 10-lesson Calm Parenting Toolkit for free. This isn't the full teaching self-government training, but it is a great start to help you get on the right track for self-government for you and your children. Click on the link now. I'll see you there.